Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Torin here. Just want to make a quick video regarding my opinions on the balance of PvP, particularly group PvP, in the latest version of SWG Restoration, which is 1.1.1. Yeah, 1.1.1. So it's the first real big patch after 1.1. A big quote unquote, like it's not a huge patch, but it did come with a lot of changes. This came out like I want to say like a couple weeks ago. I wanted to give it some time to kind of play out a bit. I wanted to watch some of the fights and see what other people were playing in battlefields and world PvP, and then do some of it myself. I haven't been the most active during this patch, but I have been watching a lot, and I have been like looking at a lot of clips, a lot of streams, and I've been trying to play some as well to try and get an idea. So this is my opinion. This is the Telrain tier list for patch 1.1.1. So at the top, to no one's surprise, Commando. However, I will say, even though I'm putting Commando here, it is definitely not like the gap between Commando and everything else is definitely significantly smaller. It's not like you have to play Commando or else you're playing like at kind of a handicap, like it kind of was for a while. The changes to Commando, I felt like, which by the way, the changes to Commando were a cryoban grenade nerf, and now stand fast when you use it roots you in place. Those were cool changes, and I think they definitely added some negatives to Commando. But honestly, it didn't really change too much with them. They're still pretty much on top. The issues that they had are still kind of issues, and the things that kind of made them strong are still there. So it's pretty much in the same spot, in my opinion. It's just kind of that everything else kind of moved up a bit, in my opinion. Next, I'm going to do Pistolier. So before I put Pistolier in S tier, I'm actually going to move it down to probably... I want to put it A tier, but I'll put it in A tier to be generous. Probably at the lower end of A tier. The reason it kind of fell off was the quick draw nerf. So for those of you that don't know, now quick draw can only be used with pistols. This was a big hit to builds such as, rifles, pistols, pretty much builds that use Pistolier but don't use a pistol. I took a big hit, in my opinion. So it's kind of fallen off a bit. I think it's still decent. I mean, it still has all the other insanely good stuff about Pistolier that made Pistolier good. It's just now it doesn't have like insane damage on top of the insane utility that it had, because you can't weave quick draw in between your attacks unless you're using a pistol, and pistols still really suck unless you're like a master smuggler. Being smuggler is really the only viable way to play pistols, in my opinion. Stuff like BH pistols and just other pistol builds just don't really work. This might be a hot take, but I do actually think that Pistolier can work fine with like a SL, but anything that really like tries to do damage that isn't Smuggler, yeah, don't use a pistol. So I want to put Pistolier in A tier. I might come back to this later in the video. We'll see. I'm very conflicted about whether this should be A or B, but for now I'm going to leave it in A. Bounty Hunter. I think Bounty Hunter is still pretty much towards the top of A. Nothing really changed with them. They're still super solid. And I think that with some of the buffs to things like Carbineer, I think Bounty Hunter is quite strong right now. BH Mando is still really good. I still think it's like the most underrated build in the game. Yeah, BH is just solid. BH is like old reliable. It's tried and true. It's never going to really be bad, and it's always going to be solid. 1.1 really did a lot of good stuff for bounty hunters, so they're in a really good spot right now. They're definitely at the top of A. Next we'll do Carbineer. Carbineer, I think, is definitely S tier, at least at the bottom of S tier. No. Yes. I'm putting Carbineer in S tier. The reason I put Carbineer in S tier was because They did receive 2 buffs. They receive a good bit more accuracy, and now suppressive fire applies a dizzy. These things are very good because now Carbineer actually has some good debuffs that come with it, and the accuracy makes up for like the lackluster middle ground that carbines were kind of in before. Like pistols, like yeah, they were fast. Rifles, they did good damage. Carbines are just kind of in like this shitty middle ground, and nobody really wanted to use them. And not really many people were playing Carbineer. At least, not many people. Excuse me. Not many people were playing Carbineer and using carbines. Before, if you remember, I put Carbineer in B tier, so from B to S is quite a jump. So, but I do feel confident saying that Carbineer is S tier. Maybe on the lower end of S tier, but still definitely S tier. SL, still S. SL is one of those professions, and those that PvP a lot know this. SL is one of those professions that's either going to be up here or it's going to be down here. It all depends on whether or not you're with a group. But because we're basing this tier list off of group PvP, SL is going to be right here. It's king. It's the best. You need an SL in your group, in my opinion. Playing without an SL is a massive disadvantage, and yeah, a group without an SL versus of like equal size to a group with an SL is just such a big difference in my opinion. So SL is still obviously quite good. Nothing really changed with them. They're just because of the nature of the buffs, they're just always going to be good. Rifleman. I want to put Rifleman. I'm going to put. Actually, here, let me do this. We need an A plus and an A minus tier because it doesn't really feel right putting this in B tier. I'm going to put Rifleman in A minus, which is still good, but there is definitely like, and I want to clear this up because some people didn't understand this in my last video. A minus is still a good tier. Like anything above, everything B and up, in my opinion, is viable. Anything that's B tier and above, I would say is viable in PvP. Anything that's like A tier and up, I would say is like meta. Actually, maybe A plus and up is like super meta. But yeah, I feel like Rifleman belongs in A minus tier. It's definitely like good as some of these other things up here, but there are a few things that kind of hold it back. Rifleman did kind of get hit by the quick draw nerf, like I said. That really hurt their DPS because a lot of Riflemen were pairing Rifleman with Pistolier for the DPS. And I believe Sniper Shot got locked to rifles as well. Don't quote me on that. I'm like 85% sure that was the case. I gotta double check the patch notes, but excuse me. Yeah, so Sniper Shot got locked to rifles, which didn't really change much. It did kind of affect like Commando Rifleman builds, which I didn't see too many of. I saw some, but not too many. Rifles are still solid. They have insane stats, really high range defense, really high accuracy, good damage. Like rifles is just, it's solid. It's like BH, but with like less versatility. It's like, yeah, I think that's a good way to compare it. It's like Bounty Hunter, but a little less versatile. Which may not make sense because Bounty Hunter's whole thing is that it's like the jack of all trades. It's very versatile. But Rifleman is just solid. You can kind of pair Rifleman with like any other ranged profession and it'll be alright, is I guess how I would say. There's some that you don't really want to mix, but I think Rifleman plus any other ranged profession is pretty solid, pretty viable. Oh yeah, Pikeman. I'm putting Pikeman in B tier. I think Pikeman is kind of struggling right now. Nobody's really playing them. The AoE knockdown is good. The Intimidate is good, but the thing is that people are picking up Intimidate from Pistolier and just using a flamethrower. It's not as strong as the Pikeman Intimidate, because the Pikeman Advanced Intimidate, it's AoE, and I think it is 25% damage reduction, and the Pistolier one is only 15. But the advantage of the Pistolier one is that it's on a Commando, and Commando is obviously at the top, whereas on Pikeman, it's on a melee class that has to get up close to apply it. so they're not always going to have high uptime on it. Pikeman is also just a really inconvenient melee profession to like spec into because of the Pikeman tree and Brawler. It just makes it super awkward to like pair it with stuff and it like be super viable. The hybrid build for Pikeman is okay. The problem is that Pikeman really lacks a lot of accuracy. It really honestly just lacks stats overall. I would say is one of the biggest things about Pikeman. It has like the skill mods aren't really that great. The accuracy feels really low. It's hard to speed cap. It's inconvenient to spec into. It's just rough. The reason I don't put it lower though, and I still think it is viable, is because the few builds that do use Pikeman, I think, are still quite solid and quite playable. You're not going to grief yourself at all by being a Pikeman, but there was a time where Pikeman was like up here and everyone was playing it. Like it was insane. But over time, Pikeman's just kind of like fallen off and just people just aren't really playing it anymore. So I would like to see Pikeman get buffed in the future. That would be nice. But for now, I'm going to put it in B tier. Teras Kasi, I'm going to put Teras Kasi in A- tier. Not really much has changed with TKA. Really, the only thing people do with like Master Teras Kasi is like, I mean, Pike's TKM is okay for PvE, but nobody runs it in PvP. TKM Combat Medic is really all I see people use Master CM for, so it's kind of whatever. But it's still solid. It just hasn't changed. It's kind of like been stagnant. But it's still really good. I mean, Master COB is nuts. Combo attack does great damage. Dizzy attack after 1.1, Dizzy is like very strong now, so Dizzy attack is quite good. It gives you plus 500 HP with power boost. Like it's a solid profession. By all means, it's quite solid. I definitely would recommend it to melee players. Anybody that wants to play the most toxic build in the game, go Teras Kasi, Combat Medic. That is the most toxic, most annoying build in the game behind probably Creature Handler. Creature Handler is probably the next most annoying build, or just Creature Handler builds in general are probably the next most annoying, but the most annoying is definitely Teras Kasi Master and CM, so definitely recommend that. What next? I guess we'll talk about Smuggler. I'm gonna put Smuggler in A+ tier. Smuggler is pretty good. I don't quite remember where I put it on my last tier list. But I know it was towards the top. Smuggler is quite good. It sucks that it has to use pistols, but without pistols, it would be, if it wasn't like locked to pistols, or if a lot of its stuff was not locked to pistols, then Smuggler would be like overpowered. But it's pretty good. It's like the only viable way to make pistols work. Does great damage through Reckless Shot. Conch Shot is obviously insane. Although now that Shurkar is in the game, I think Conch Shot is slowly going to lose value because there's the Synaptic Shot Caller or whatever it's called. I think that's the name, something like that, from Shurkar that breaks Mesmerize effects. So once people start farming that and start getting that item, I think Smuggler is going to fall off a bit. Because one of the biggest advantages of Smuggler is Conch Shot. It's like basically like almost a whole minute of a disable. But once people get the Mes device, I think Smuggler might fall off. But it's still really good again. AoE Blind, AoE Silence, 15% heal reduction. The ranged Mortal Strike on Smuggler is still huge. Last Ditch is huge, massive burst. One of the best offensive cooldowns in the game. Yeah, Smuggler's just in a really good spot in my opinion. The biggest downside of Smuggler is that you can really only pair it with Pistolier. I mean, you could do like full Smuggler, full Pistolier, or you could do like full Smuggler, half Pistolier, and then part into like something else, like Commando or whatever. But yeah, you pretty much have to pair it with Pistolier, which is, I guess, a downside. Probably why I wouldn't put it in S tier. But it is still definitely very good, by all means. All right, Combat Medic. Where to put CM? This might be controversial. This might be a hot take, but I'm actually going to put CM in A-. At the top of A-, but an A- nonetheless. The reason for that being, dot stacking was nerfed and removed. and battle fatigue is long gone. Gone are the days of fucking stacking 1,000 battle fatigue on the kill target and then trying to kill them. Like, that shit is long gone, and we never have to see it again. That said, I do think that Combat Medic did lose a lot of its value in group PvP from that. CM really shined in 1.1 because of, just infect stacking and just stacking battle fatigue on kill targets. It was toxic, it was shitty, it was annoying, we all hated it, but it was really good. And it was kind of what made CM, S tier. Without that, I think CM kind of falls back a bit. I think it's definitely still good, definitely still viable. You definitely need to be master CM to really get the full efficiency of it, in my opinion. You can't really just grab heals and dots and be good. The healing line and the dot line and be good. You kind of just go the healing line or MCM, in my opinion. But again, that's just my opinion. Otherwise, I don't think it's really worth. At least not for group PvP. For 1v1s, it might still be okay to dip into the dot line, because dots are still fine. It's just that they don't stack a bajillion times. And then Infect obviously lost a lot of value, so I feel comfortable putting CM in A- tier. So Doctor's gonna go B tier. We saw some combat doc in 1.1 for a while. I thought it had potential to be really insane. Now nobody really does it. It's kind of fallen off. Actually, I might put it below Pikeman. I wrote a player voice. I might link in the description. I wrote a player voice about potential doctor fixes that would really make combat doctor work really well. Making it a master for cleansing all this sort of commando dots and CM stuff, and just give it better AoE cleanses, things like that would really help. I do also think that Doc should get a big heal cooldown. I think that would be something really good for them. But yeah, it would be nice, because Doctor is in a weird spot where it's half healer, half buff bot, and I would like to see us kind of lean more into the healing side of Doctor in the future. But right now, not many people are playing it. Master Doc in PvP is very rare. Even the healing on a Doc is rare, because most melee are doing hybrid melee right now. So yeah, Doc is just in kind of a rough spot, in my opinion. Let's see. Next, I'm gonna put CH. So if you guys remember, CH was all the way down here in D tier on the last video. And on this one, I'm going to put it not in C tier, but actually in B tier, right above Pikeman. CH received some nice buffs, thanks to some of the senators really pushing for it. And I would definitely say CM... God, why do I keep calling it CM? I'm sorry, guys. CH, Creature Handler, is definitely viable in PvP, in group PvP now. Before, I would have said, if you play CH in group PvP, aside from maybe one guy who's using a Tanray with flank or something, then that would be okay. But I think CH now is viable in group PvP. Definitely playable. Definitely not a throw anymore. Do you want to have 5 people playing CH in a group of 8 people? Probably not. Is bringing a CH into a battlefield a complete throw now? It's not a throw. It's definitely doable. I've seen CH put high numbers in battlefield, but it's definitely not the best. But it's in a solid spot. Actually, I think I will put Pikeman above CH, but CH is definitely viable now, which is quite good. Fencer's going to be right here. Fencer's still insanely good. The utility is just insane. The tankiness is insane. The cone blind, the heal cut, the speed. It's just still cracked. Fencer is just still really good. Definitely the best melee in my opinion for group PvP. It's just not much has really changed with it. It's so good. It's just so good. Next, I'm going to talk about Swordsman or Berserker. Sorry. I think before I put it right here in the middle of A- tier. I definitely think I'm going to move it up a little bit into the A+ tier. In fact, I think I'm going to move it right above pistolier. The reason being, even though swordsman really lacked utility, and that's I think why we didn't see a lot of swordsmen for most of 1.1. I think that the burst damage of swordsman, particularly the burst damage of swordsman with the general weapons, the weapons you get for reaching the general rank, the burst damage with those, it's like some of the best burst in the entire game. Definitely the best melee burst, might be the best in the game aside from like Last Ditch. It's pretty nuts. Berserker can like nearly one-shot someone, especially like, again, particularly with the general weapons, because the proc does so much, it does so much damage. So this might sound weird, but I think if you're playing swordsman and you're able to get general and use these general weapons, I definitely think it's like right here, maybe even like right here, but definitely like on the upper end of A+ tier. If you're not using the general weapons, I'd probably say it's like right here. Not much of a difference, I know, but it is a difference that I think is worth noting, just because the burst damage with those weapons is so insanely good. It's just so it's crazy. I've seen them put out some like they hit almost as hard as like demo shot crits on droids, which is bonkers on against player targets, in my opinion. That's just insane. So yes, Berserker's in a good spot in my opinion. It doesn't have a lot of utility. It has armor break, advanced armor break. That's about it. But that's all they need to be able to land these huge hits. So the damage on it is great. Utility, not really there, but it's kind of the opposite of Fencer, where Fencer doesn't really have these big hits, but it has very, very good sustained DPS, and it has insane utility. Berserker's the opposite. It does not have a lot of utility. It's really only got one utility-esque thing worth noting, but the damage on it, dude, just is insane. So can't stress that enough. So I think this is what I'm going to go with for my tier list for right now. I think I will put Pistolier right here, actually in A tier, or A- tier. Again, this might not seem like a big difference to some people, but it is to me. I don't think it's quite up to par with these other things, but it is still definitely solid. So I'm definitely putting Pistolier in A-, but I think this is my tier list for now. I kind of came into this video because I was like, I want to give my opinion about just these other professions, and with PvP and whatnot right now. I didn't put too much thought into it, and I kind of like thought out loud with you guys as I'm recording this video. But I feel pretty confident in this, given the experience I've had and from what I've seen and watched and the clips I've seen in the battlefields and whatnot. I think this is pretty accurate to my opinion. Nothing in C tier, which is good. Nothing in D tier is not even on the list, so that's good. Things are definitely moving up, although I will say there are a bit more things in B tier than there were last time. Before, pretty much everything except for like CH and Carbineer was A tier and above. We do have a few more things in B tier this time. I have noticed a fall off, and particularly Pike. And CH has gone up, which is awesome. But I have definitely noticed a fall off in Pikeman or Lancer. Sorry, with Lancer and Doctor, they've definitely fallen off a good bit. Carbs on the rise, in a very good spot. The buff did them a lot of good work. It's not OP, it's just very well designed, very solid. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put Carbineer right above BH, but I'm going to put it in A+ tier. So yeah, this is my opinion right here. Take this to the bank, argue with me about it in the PvP Discord or the Resto Discord, whatever. But this is what I'm going with for 1.1.1. So hope you guys enjoyed.